What's going on, everybody? This is the blockchain backer, bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Today, we'll have a quick update over here on the charts by taking a look at the Bitcoin price chart, the Ethereum price chart, and the altcoin market. One of the things we've been watching for the last several days has been what completed crashing structures have looked like and trying to determine have we been seeing the same thing happening over here in Ethereum and over here in Bitcoin, and whether or not we're wrapping things up. Of course, I've been mindful of what we've been doing for the last several months in regards to how we followed this corrective structure pattern here from 2018 on Bitcoin from the all-time high, the most odd thing to see ever. And then obviously we've been continuing here. And well as everything that we're doing, still kind of just like the final pit stop before the very final ending comes in here, if we're going to continue following it, right? One of the things we noticed from what these bottoms, these V bottoms can look like is that essentially we don't have any new lows, like it says. It's just a series of higher highs and higher lows that eventually come in here as it works its way back up into the breakdown level, which for something like Bitcoin would be like working its way right back up in here. Then pausing out for a while and then working its way up again. But we could see things are starting to kind of pause out here. We could see these higher highs and higher lows are getting tested pretty close. Bitcoin technically hasn't set a lower low in here. The lower low for Bitcoin comes in at about 19,800. But when we look at Ethereum, it appears to have set somewhat of a lower low. The question is, which one is technically the lower low on which time frame? Is it technically sitting there at 1,080 or is it down there at 1,050? So we did cross 1,080 for Ethereum, not looking too favorable of higher highs and higher lows, while Bitcoin is still maintaining them. So it's getting a little questionable. It's teetering right there on the edge on whether or not, hey, was that the signal? Was that good enough there on Ethereum to say, hey, this thing's ready to start rolling over, and that we're still in play here. We've still got more teetering around to do in here for weeks before we can go on and find a true bottom over here on Bitcoin. I'm not fully convinced either way or leaning optimistic either way. While Bitcoin is still holding, technically still grinding with higher highs and higher lows, the fact that Ethereum appears to not have been, it kind of gets me a little bit saying, I don't know. I mean, we've had massive drawdowns in this market. I would think it's time to start looking for bottoms and bottoming structures. And we've done the counts on these. And we did the count here on Ethereum. That our count looks good in here. But we're setting new lows for Ethereum, not for Bitcoin. But really, are we still just going to have to meander in here for quite some time? So I would say my optimism has probably been cut in half or more merely by Ethereum, even though Bitcoin is still holding. But if Bitcoin did start taking it out as well. If we got below 19.8, and especially if we got down here, if we got below 19.5, 19.6, then yeah, it's feeling like we're just not ready yet. I would say the thing that has most of my attention and the thing that I spend most of the time pondering here in this market right now is this right here, is the Bitcoin dominance plus the Ethereum dominance and trying to interpret what it could mean. Historically, as the Bitcoin and Ethereum dominance break down and go into new lows after taking out support levels, that's been an optimistic time for the altcoin market, whether or not that means there's going to be some full-blown alt season or if it's just going to be kind of a heavy retrace that comes in for the altcoins. Curiosity has me over here wondering what happens if that starts to break down. We saw what happened as it was heading back down to these lows here. It did not take out new lows. It did not break into new lows, but we saw that both Ethereum and Bitcoin were crashing pretty heavily as the remainder of the altcoin market was staying pretty close to still during that time. Judging by the timing of how all of this is played out, judging by the examples that we've used in the past and how long this can last in here, we could stay in here until mid-July with this Bitcoin and Ethereum dominance really just kind of pausing out here for a whole month. But that doesn't tell us what happens with the actual price action of the market, but what happens to the market when we get beyond here. Is there an actual real crumble in Ethereum, a real crumble in Bitcoin that doesn't impact the altcoin market as heavily? Or is that finally when we're going to end up getting our bounce and just measuring time of how long it's taken to play out? We may not get that answer until late July. So if it looks like those could stay still, if the Bitcoin and Ethereum dominance could stay still, and then if Ethereum and Bitcoin were both to start breaking back down again, it would likely take the altcoin market with it. So I would completely expect that the altcoin market will continue going down as well if Bitcoin and Ethereum do. And that it wouldn't be similar to like what we saw here, to where really it was blunt of Bitcoin and Ethereum taking it during this time period. But if this dominance stayed still in here for a while Ethereum's breaking down and then Bitcoin's breaking down, the altcoin market's likely breaking down with it too. So considering how close we're getting on those right there, that would be my thoughts. That would be what my expectations would be moving forward if we start taking out 19.8 and 19.6 over here on Bitcoin. which we're getting awfully close. And Ethereum really dancing with it down there. Now, I'm not a big follower of SHIB, but SHIB is doing kind of the things that I'm looking for to see in the altcoin market that we actually talked about yesterday. That if we saw the altcoin market start to move up higher to around the $450 billion range for total 3, we'd have some interesting things to talk about. We see that happening over here with SHIB. Does that mean anything? Is it just a pump and dump happening in there? I don't know, because the rest of the market isn't following it. But these are the types of things that I'm hoping to see happen in the market at this point. But we're kind of at the whim right now of Bitcoin to tell us what that story is going to be. So, and, I had to take some humble pie as well. Like, when we saw a lot of those things happening several months ago that were popping up, that were looking like early signs and early optimistic signs on various different altcoins, it did not pan out for the whole market as well. So I know not to look at SHIB and be like, hey, there's our early good sign. But that's the type of thing I am looking for to show up in here in the altcoin market to start, I'll start talking about why that was optimistic to me. But right now it is just kind of about watching Bitcoin. Are we going to hold these lows, and are we going to be able to maintain these higher highs and higher lows? So if we do go any lower on Bitcoin, if we start taking out 19.8, and especially if we take out 19.6, it will be my thoughts that we're probably going lower over there on Bitcoin, and that we're still just going to have to teeter around in here. But as we can see, we've gone pretty deep. I'm going to keep looking for bottoms. But in order for this one to remain true here for Bitcoin and what we've seen before, higher highs and higher lows, it still is doing that technically. The moment we start to lose them over there on Bitcoin, if we do, I'll be expecting that we're going to be seeing some new lows coming in here. And if this is giving us any type of signal in here that this is actually going to pause out in here for a while, that would likely mean new lows in the altcoin market as well. Peeking around at other aspects of the markets, I don't know how I didn't notice this over here on the NASDAQ, that it's at its 200-week moving average over here. And the same thing goes over here for the Dow Jones Industrial Average. As you know, my focus has been really on if that top from back there in February of 2020 before the C19 crash was going to be the thing that could end up holding us. And we could see the 200-week moving average coming in down here as well for the Dow Jones. But one interesting thing that I've noticed here in the last couple of days, and especially today, if you look at it, this is the price of oil. Just a week ago, it was $123, now down to $101, and moving pretty rapidly over here on oil, heading down after really kind of just barely getting above that 786 Fibonacci retracement level in there. I'm sure that'll bring relief to a lot of people. But what implications does a crashing oil price bring? I don't know. And it's not technically crashing. It's just moving down to the bottom of the range. But definitely oil is a big contributor to inflation, right? Everything runs on oil. Gasoline is a falling oil price, something that we need to help alleviate a little bit of that inflation. I would think so, and I would hope so. But as for the coming days, this is where I'll be keeping my eyes over here on the Bitcoin price chart. Not a whole lot to say as we're still bouncing around in this range and really kind of determining which way are we going. Take out these levels right in here. I'll expect that we're not done. Bitcoin's able to hold it and start pushing its way up. Hey, right on. Things are still looking good. And when looking over here at total 3, we can see lows are still holding in here. No new lows have been set over here on total 3. It's really just kind of been like over there on Ethereum, and you got Bitcoin really kind of dancing with those lows right now. So we'll see what the days bring. Otherwise, I'll keep this video pretty short as we're still in here. And these are the things that I'm looking at, and these are the things that I'm watching for me to start thinking, hey, we're going to set new lows, or hey, we're still on our march higher. But it's pretty clear for me. We start taking out any lows. Bitcoin starts taking out lows. It's just not looking favorable that we're done yet. And we're waiting for those answers to come. So we'll see what the week brings us. And if we break one way or the other tomorrow, I'll check in with you guys. Otherwise, if we're still just ranging, I may take a day off tomorrow, as I've only had one day off in the last 13 days. So depends on what the price action is. Otherwise, I'll catch you guys soon. I want to thank you so much for watching. If you could, please like this video and give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice and I am not a financial advisor, but if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.